Welcome to the Remnant by Reclaim 611 podcast. I am Paula, and I am missing my sidekick today, Carrie. But we have some very, very special guests in the studio with us today. You all may remember her from earlier segments. We have our survivor, Whitney, in the studio with us today. And
Hi.
yes, and her boyfriend, CJ, is in the studio with us today.
Fiance.
Oh, fiance. Oh, thank you for correcting me. I love it. Fiance. Listen, our survivor has a fiance. Come on, move up. Yes. So her fiance, CJ, is in the studio with us today. I love it. Welcome back to the podcast again, Whitney. It's so good to see you. Some things have changed since the last time you were in here.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what has changed since then.
So, we got pregnant. And,
Uh-huh.
we found out we're having a little girl. She will be here next month.
Wow.
It's supposed to be the 30th, but hopefully they'll rush it along and it'll be a little sooner.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is this your first child? First pregnancy?
Well, no, this is actually my sixth pregnancy. The only child that this is my rainbow baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if God says the same, this is my rainbow baby.
Congratulations. I'm just
Thank you.
smiling from ear to ear, just knowing. And if people aren't aware of what a rainbow baby is, that means the baby that survived after miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the rainbow baby. So congratulations to you.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy you've made it this far. And I believe God is going to bless you to see it to the end. And
I
you're gonna
believe
have
he
a
will too.
beautiful, bouncing baby girl. Well, if you all are wondering what this segment is about, this segment today, we are going to talk about recovery because, we talk a lot about what happens to victims when they are in the life and how they have to deal with drug abuse and they become victims of drug abuse. And so this is going to be quite interesting so you can hear a perspective from the survivor and her fiance. So you're going to take us back in time a little bit, Whitney, and just tell us a little bit about how you all met.
So we were actually at a transition. Do we say names?
You don't have to.
Okay, so we were at a transitional, or like a sober living here in Dallas, and you're actually not supposed to fraternize with the men, or if you're a man, the women. But I don't know. We met, and I don't know. It's been fireworks ever since. But, so we met there, and we started dating, and I ended up moving to another sober living, and he ended up moving to a different one. And we've been together ever since.
Wow. So how long have you all been together?
On October 3rd, it'll be 2 years.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
CJ, can you tell us a little bit about your experience and I guess what brought you to the sober living place?
Well, I've it's been for 20 years. The insanity repeated. I've been to prison 4 times, 14 different treatment centers, a behavior modification program. I've been homeless, living in dope traps, selling drugs just to support my habit and numerous crimes. And I also have been in and out of recovery, but never sustained longevity, And, people say that circumstances happen and they relapse. But until I took responsibility for, it's me. It's not child support taking my money or my girl leaving me or, have to live life on life's terms. And this time, it stuck, I take accountability for my actions, and then I change them.
That's awesome. So I heard you say you were in and out of programs, right?
Yes.
And how long have you been sober now?
22 months. I'll have 2 years in July.
Oh, that is awesome. Congratulations to you.
And I work in treatment at Turtle Creek Recovery Center.
Okay. That's awesome. So you said a little bit about you had to take responsibility for it, but kind of tell us a little bit of what it looks like when you don't take responsibility for it. Like what's going on in your life, in your mind? What are you telling yourself? What are you doing that keeps you from being successful and sticking with it?
Well, I mean, we all have something, whether it be addiction or whatever, something in our life that has been broken, right? And we need to heal. Or I'll make an I statement. I needed to heal. My father wasn't in my life.
Okay.
My mother, registered nurse for over 35 years. That's my hero. She did her best to raise two black men on her own, but she's not a man. So for the longest, I had, in the 12 steps, we say resentment is the number one offender. I've always carried a resentment because my father wasn't there. Today, I have a relationship with my father,
That's
and
awesome.
I had to make amends as well. And, it's not on him to make the amends. He doesn't owe me anything. But if I want to heal and have peace, I had to let go of that resentment and then follow up with an amends.
Wow, resentment. Interesting. I didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that. So do you think were you able to go forward more with recovery once you let go of that resentment, or was it other stuff that you had to let go of that finally allowed you to move forward?
Well, here's the deal. This is a ongoing process every day. I wake up, I ask my higher power, never anything selfish. Like, I need this Lambo truck. Let me get that Lambo. Come on, God, give me that Lambo. No, I make it, even before I do my prayer meditation, as soon as I open my eyes. Creator, help me to help your children. And whatever that looks like, I'm with it. And that's how I start my day.
Wow.
Initially, as soon as I open my eyes, I make conscious contact with my higher power. Because another thing is fear. Fear manifests itself in several ways. Dishonesty, anger, jealousy, pride. It's all self-centered fear. And that's one that I have to constantly look for. When I get in fear, when that crops up, I immediately have to ask my higher power to remove it, and then find somebody to help.
Gotcha. So your daily focus is always on who can I help today?
Exactly. Self-centered fear is the root of my problem.
Okay.
The fear, if I don't get what I want when I want it. And if I don't get it, I'm going to take it. You're going to give me what I want, and that puts me in fear. I'm a selfish individual, right? So how do I get out of being self-centered? Put others first. In the St. Francis prayer, it says, by self-forgetting one finds and awakens to eternal life. The universe is going to provide what you need if you take care of the universe.
Gotcha. Okay. So focusing on others.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it. So, Whitney, tell us a little bit about your recovery and what kind of caused you to finally get on the track of, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna kick this.
Well, he kind of set a high bar there.
It's okay, but share your story.
So, I had went to this sober living, and it wasn't even intentional. It wasn't intentional that I got sober because I mean, at first, of course, I mean, I didn't want to because you hear people, oh, I got sober, I'm happy now. I have this, in the back of my mind, I'd be like, yeah, you're full of it. So, when I initially had went there, well, before I had went to a rehab beforehand, a court ordered rehab, and I didn't think I was gonna make it out of there. I thought I'd end up going back to jail, but I didn't. I actually, I picked up a lot of stuff there, and my my downfall every time I got out of jail was trying to take matters into my own hands, especially when it comes to like money or being broke or having nowhere to go, because I didn't have anybody to depend on but myself. So as soon as I would start to feel like, I was out of money or, I was about to, not have anywhere to go, I would try to go make some money, do whatever, whatever it took to make some money. And so this time I promised myself that I would give myself a chance, In my mind, I was like, it's probably not going to work, but just so I said I did it, I'm going to go ahead and try to give myself a chance. And so when I got there, I started going to these meetings, AA, NA, all the other A's. They have like groups that come up there, and volunteer, like do what they call H&Is, hospitals and institutions, okay. And it's where they carry the message there, the message of AA or NA or whatever, whatever their group is. And so I started going to these meetings and realized that, these people that were here, volunteering to do this, that their story sounded exactly like mine, Of course, not every detail, everybody, but I mean, as far as like having to use it being the only thing that can make me feel better or get me through the day or, whatever the case may be, it sounded exactly like mine. So, I don't know. I think I kind of made a decision within like the first two, and then the community, because it was like communal living, and I have lifelong friends. That's where I met April, one of the other survivors, for those listening. Yeah. One of the other survivors that was on the show earlier. Previously, but yeah, that's where I met her. And I've met some like lifelong friends that I know will be in contact forever. And I don't know. It's just, I think it was like the void that I needed to fill was like being a part of something, or like that's always what I've been missing, is like I wasn't really close to my family. And so through drugs you get, whether you have to pay for it or not, you get friends. And so I think that when I went here and I met these people, and like I fit in because we were like he said, we were all broken, and just trying to pick the pieces back up, and I don't know, it just stuck. Like, for after that first month, I was like, dang, maybe I can do this. This isn't that bad, Of course, I'm having to go to IOP 3 times a week. There wasn't really much.
What is IOP?
Intensive outpatient. Okay. It was, I was in a specialty court for women who have had, who have been involved in prostitution, or have had like been sexually abused, and just had like issues like that. And I hated it at first. I hated it until the day I got out probation, which was like last month. But I can honestly say that it probably saved my life. It played a huge part in saving my life, because I'm having to go to IOP twice a week for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, 3 times a week. Then I have to go to court every other week. Then I have to go UA, UA, like at one point it was like 5 times a week, like every single weekday. But that kept me on my feet. And then I don't know, it's like once I overcame all these obstacles, I was like, oh, okay, well, I've already gotten through this part, it's not going to be that much longer. And I don't know, it just became a lifestyle after that. And then I don't know. I think that I feel like I never thought I'd make it this far anyways. Why not keep going? You know, once you get blessed, like, you know, through this pandemic, a lot of people that I know have, like, either overdosed, relapsed.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's no accountability. And then when you're bored, you're sitting around thinking, you know, you're thinking in your own mind. And like CJ, whenever I get like worried or upset or whatever, he'll be like, you know what, your mind is trying to kill you. Your mind is like playing with you, you know, so you need to be careful. Like he's always like, when I talk to him when I'm going through stuff, he always has an answer for stuff. And I don't know, like that's what I feel like a lot of people since the pandemic especially are going through, you know, like they're sitting around bored and they're like, oh, like, I don't know, in my addiction, I would tell myself, you know what, I'm just going to use meth a couple times. It's not as bad as heroin. Mm-hmm. And I'd always end up, you know, with back doing heroin, you know. But it would just be this delusional thoughts I would tell myself to try to find a loophole into doing what I wanted to do. You know, it would be like a justification or whatever. But, yeah, I think the same thing is going on for a lot of people through the pandemic, you know. And thank God, like, you know, I wasn't one of those people. Like, I can honestly say, like, things were not just like rainbows and butterflies. But I mean, you know, like I said, I'm grateful that I've been able to thrive during the pandemic, and you know, like we've been okay. And I think that was like the ultimate test for me. Mm-hmm. Not having it, we didn't have to UA during the pandemic. We had everything over Zoom as far as court and stuff. And so it was like, oh, if I wanted to go get high, I could have and got it away with it, you know, but who knows if I would have made it back out alive.
Right. So, that's a good point you make, and I'm going to definitely come back to that about the pandemic and, you know, people and how they coped or failed to cope. What are some things? So one thing I've been told is one of the greatest challenges is, you know, looking at sobriety from the lens of an addict, right? And it seems like you can't accomplish it because it seems so far off, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been told that the best thing to do is take it one day at a time. Mm-hmm. Take it one day at a time. So how have you, CJ, how have you been able to take it one day at a time and just continue to make those steps at continued sobriety?
Well, I picked this up from a TED Talk about addiction, and the gentleman on there said, the remedy to addiction is connection. Okay. Stay connected. Mm-hmm. Now, Whitney, you know, this is my fiance, so when she go ape, I don't want to curse on here. When she get to tripping, I check her real quick, like, hold on now. Did you pray about this? Okay. Did you go pray? Mm-hmm. Maybe you need to call your sponsor, right? So I sponsor guys now, right? Because to keep what I have, I have to give it away, you know. So with the fellowship, rather it be, well, if you're connected, you have to be connected, not only to your higher power, but my fellows, my peers. Mm-hmm. It can be church, AA, NA. You have support. Mm-hmm. You don't have to carry that burden on your own. And the thing is, when you're in active addiction, I got to the point where I would go score, and you know, at first I would get high with other people and be like, let's party. Man, it got to the point I would get my dope and go hide because I don't want you asking me for my stuff, you know? And that's pretty sad. The first step, the spiritual principle of the first step is honesty and transparency. I'm authentic about everything today, to the best of my ability. And, you know, you have to admit there's a problem there. A lot of people, they're in denial. Mm-hmm. They don't want to face that. And until you admit you're powerless and your life is unmanageable, I mean, your life is probably unmanageable if you're sleeping under a bridge, you're selling your body, or, you know, I mean, something's unmanageable. You know, your family don't want to mess with you anymore, and you have to confront it, be honest, and accept the help. Then, you know.
Gotcha. So I know that there are triggers to relapse, right?
Mhm.
Certain things happen or trigger you to want to go back into that. How have you, since you both have been together, been able to work through moments that may have been triggering?
Who goes?
You go first, ladies first.
Um, I remember like a couple like well a few times I'm always able to like if I'm feeling some type of way, I'm always able to talk to him. You know, he knows what I'm going through cuz he's in recovery too. And he's able like I can honestly say I don't know that I'd still be sober if I didn't have him for support, you know. Like early on, you know, because I didn't really know anything about recovery, but I remember one time I was like looking through my old pictures and stuff, and I was like, I've gained a lot of weight since I've been sober, and even more so like being pregnant, you know. But I remember I was looking at my old pictures, and I was like, man, I was like, I was so skinny, right? And he was like, that's morbid reflection. He was like, what comes along with being that skinny for you? He was like, and just like prostitution, guys, beating me up, just everything unhealthy, the drugs, track marks on my arms, just unhappiness, being miserable. And, you know, of course I still want to lose weight, but it just like throws me back into perspective. Like, wow, how soon we forget, you know what I mean? Like all the stuff that you had to go through. Like, well, I had to go through like that feeling of being sick, withdrawing from heroin. It's not fun, it's not pleasant, and it makes you feel like you want to claw your skin off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just like how soon I forget that, like what I'm just gonna be one and done and be like, oh, let me go back to sobriety. It's just unrealistic. So I think just being able to talk about it with him and be honest, this is probably the first healthy relationship that I've been in, period. But the first relationship where there's open communication, where I can talk with him about that and he doesn't get mad at me. He understands and he will help redirect my thoughts, and we'll talk about it together, and I'll end up feeling better and my mind will go back to reality.
Uh-huh. CJ, what about for you? What has helped you when you have those moments where you're triggered to kind of fall into relapse?
Well, I know in the 12 steps you do a self inventory. You go deep, 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 deep down, and you look at why am I doing the things I'm doing? What is this? Is it fear? Is it I'm inconsiderate, self-seeking, uh, being dishonest? What is causing this to happen? So when you do your 4 step, the 5th step is doing it with your sponsor, right? Or you can do it with a rabbi, priest, and you're spilling your guts, your deepest, darkest secrets. There's a cliche: your secrets keep you sick. So again, being transparent. You know, I got to put all my cards on the table if I want to heal. But I'm gonna keep it real. No, I'm not triggered to go get high or drink today, but I get triggered when I'm driving and somebody cuts me off. I still have road rage. And then I want to follow them and then jump out the car and fight, or somebody bumps into me in the grocery store. I immediately want to cuss them out. Usually triggers come from some form of trauma. There's a trauma there. And by doing the shadow work of doing an inventory, we all have good things to contribute to life, but what about that bad stuff that we try to sweep under the rug? I'm straight up, Yes, there's good qualities about me, and there's bad. Uh, I'm just now really finding out a lot of the good qualities, but I know the bad ones very well. I know what them jokers look like, man. So when I see it and I feel it and I spot it, man, my peace isn't here no more. Something's going on. And sometimes I have to remove myself from everything around me and be like, man, what's going on? And then I reach out to my higher power. If I don't get any peace from that, usually after I remove myself in recovery, in AA, we call it practice the pause. When agitated or we face indecision, we pause and ask our higher power for the right direction to take, and immediately find somebody to help, to get out of self. Usually when I go find somebody to help, I find somebody more screwed up than I am, and I be like, wait, I'm all right. I ain't that bad, you know what I'm saying? Thank you, God. You know what I'm saying? And push on. Right? Hey, I made it through the day. Hey, I'm good. Thank you, God. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, CJ, I want you to tell me a little bit about, you mentioned that now you are you somebody's sponsor, or you have people under you?
Yes.
So tell me about that. Tell me about how that works for you.
Right now, I'm sponsoring 2 gentlemen. And basically, the job of a sponsor is to take them through the 12 steps. So, when my sponsor took me through the 12 steps of AA, I took notes, and studied, and I learned, what works. That's another thing about relapse, people are on the fence about relapse. Relapse isn't part of recovery. Well, it's part of my recovery several times. And each time I relapse, I learn what works and what does not work, And that's wisdom. I got wisdom from hitting that wall, bam, oh, that don't work. I ain't doing that no more, you know what I'm saying? Right. But, yeah. And then if it's not from the literature, then I let the gentleman know this was my experience with this. Now, what you do with it, that's on you. And then I can make a suggestion. Never do I, hey, man, do this, man. If you don't do this, I ain't working with you no more. No, I'm like, hey, man, this is what, especially with the dating thing, in recovery, they say, don't get into a intimate relationship for a year, which we did not do. But again, God is good. We made it through. God is good. But yeah, so, man, what man is going to practice abstinence for a year? So, I mean, that's a very tall order. So I'd be like, hey, bro, if you get involved, just communicate with me and don't make any big decisions without, or pray. I'm not the end all tell all. I don't have all the answers either, but I will tell you what my experience was, and you could take that, you can cash that.
So this is my first time hearing that they tell you not to be in a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because you're emotionally unstable.
Yeah, gotcha.
And when you, so step 4 was to...
Oh, man, you see what I'm saying?
No, step 4 is doing it's like the inventory he was talking about, putting everything on the table. I'm talking about from first grade teachers who, made you go to timeout that you're still mad at, to, the big stuff. And so until you do your a thorough step 4, thorough meaning, so I'm going through the steps again right now, right? And I just finished my step 4. Thank God I'm going through the steps again, because the first time I did it, I learned nothing. And it was kind of like, if I didn't want to put something, the lady I was working with, she didn't make me, which is not how you're supposed to do it. But so this time I really dug deep, and not only did I learn a lot about, why I've been so angry, or stuff that I was holding on to, but I learned a lot about myself. and I realized, how badly my actions affected the people that I cared about, that I just was like, oh, well, they hurt me, so how can they be hurt. So, until a person thoroughly does a step forward, then you don't know who you are, because you don't know what harm you caused, and what defects you possessed, and how can you work on something if you don't even know something's wrong.
That's good. How can you work on something? You don't know something's wrong, so now you have somebody else that you're involved with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even realize you have this other stuff that's wrong. And so it's not fair to you or the other person, actually.
When we first met, I was I was not the funnest person to be around. I would always ask him to like send me his location, and he had to deal with, but just because I've been cheated on, I've cheated on people. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, dang, if I'm doing some dirt, you know what I mean, or I'm texting other guys, what is he doing? So and he's had to deal with trauma from my past that wasn't even on him, as far as like things he said, or just different things. But I remember when we first got together, he was like, I really watch what I say when I'm around you, because I know you're fragile. And I'm like, I'm not fragile. But really, I was so fragile. And had he not, guys are not like that. I've never met another guy who's like that, who's willing to accommodate me by, kind of adjusting how they are when they're around me. Who cares about me that much, to kind of change up how they normally are and watch what they say or do, to make sure that they don't hurt me. A lot of guys are not going to do that, especially when you first meet them. So I was truly blessed, and I'm very grateful that he did that. But it just taught me how broken I was and how much trauma I carry into a relationship. It just confirms that, like just what I said, like I hadn't done a thorough step. I hadn't even done a step 2 when I first met him. But I knew nothing about myself, and I just thought he was cute, and I was like, hey, but now, look what it's evolved into, and it's healthy. We don't do the location thing anymore. But we fully trust each other, and I've never had that in a relationship, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without doing that inventory and the communication that we have. Somebody who understands, oh heck, okay, I've been through this, and somebody who's willing to accept all of me.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
For those out there that are listening, if you're in addiction, whether it be porn, overeating, alcoholism, drugs, gambling, whatever, I did the 12 steps this time in AA. I've done them in Celebrate Recovery before, and I've done them in AA twice before. But people, when you say one of the A's, they can tend to think it's like a cult, right? And the 12 steps were founded by the Oxford group. There were only 6 steps. The Oxford group was a Christian group, right? So the 12 steps are a spiritual program of action. And the whole purpose of the 12 steps is to find the God of your understanding and to have an intimate relationship with him. The beauty of this, it trickles down into every aspect of your life. I'm a better man. I'm a better father, a better brother, better fiance, better son, And then we clear up the wreckage of our past, and all that we tore up, it's restored. As we're being healed, all that's restored. And then you get more.
Tenfold.
The blessings out the wazoo,
Yeah, that's amazing, and I'm really enjoying you all's story, listening to it, but also watching it. As I get to know you more, and you've been a constant presence since I've been knowing her.
Mhm.
So I'm enjoying seeing this unfold. But Whitney, you mentioned something earlier, and you talked about how the pandemic has really impacted, people
Mm-hmm.
personally. So tell us a little bit about that and share how you were able to get through the pandemic without having those same reactions.
So, like I said before, I'm in a specialty court program, and a lot of girls that I was at Wilmer, which is a court-ordered drug rehab. It's 6 months, and some of the girls end up in my court, and then some of them end up in a different court, and but we're all, we spent 6 months together, so we all kind of keep track of each other. We're friends on Facebook, anyways. But so, I started to notice that right after the pandemic hit, and our probation officers were telling us, well, you're not gonna have to UA, but you still need to call what we call it's called a color line. There's not a color, but you have your code you have to press in, and it'll tell you you have a UA today, or you're not scheduled for a UA today. So we didn't have to do that anymore because, we're not having to go in person. We're not having to do anything in person. And for, court and stuff like that, like I was telling you, the justifications that, us as addicts, we tell ourselves, people were thinking that nobody's going to notice that, they're on drugs, or they'll do it for a little bit, and then as soon as the pandemic's, that we got to go report again, then they'll get off drugs, and that's not the way it works. It's not even logical to think that, but the lies we tell ourselves in order to get what we want. So a few of my friends, or the people that I was associating with or whatever, had ended up relapsing. One just went back to, she's going to prison for a long time. She's got up like 3 manufacturing with intent to deliver. Manufacturing delivery charges. And I don't know, it's just like really sad. The same person I'm talking about, I went by her work, and she was like, this is when I was probably about 5 months pregnant, and she was like, man, it's so crazy. Like, out of everybody, that we were in Wilmer with, I never thought that you'd be one of the ones to make it. You're happy, you're about to get married, you're about to have a baby. And I was like thinking in the back of my mind, I didn't either. I didn't either, because I never thought it would be possible, but like I said, I've thrived during the pandemic. Like it's been a couple times when I think, like, when I was watching TV or, something like that, where I had like triggering thoughts, but they immediately were followed up by a really, is that really what you're thinking about right now? But I was able to make it through the pandemic just by staying occupied, like working, doing volunteer work, and, we go out on date nights and stuff like that. So when you're surrounded by recovery, it's really, really, really hard to just go back out there and use, because you're surrounded by people who get it. There's, of course you're going to have people fall off, but like for me, I feel like I've come too far. I've gotten so much, like things I never thought would be possible. Before I got sober, I didn't ever have a job. I was always in prostitution, Yeah. So I've had jobs since then. After the baby, I'm gonna go work in recovery. You know what I mean? And who would have thought me?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, and
Thank you.
so happy for you. And I wish you nothing but continued success and blessings. For real.
Thank you.
For real. Well, we are getting ready to wrap it up. CJ, you left us. You gave us some, encouraging words. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with the listening audience before we end?
Yeah. So if you were you spoke about the one day at a time. In NA, they say just for today. Um, another cliche used is progress, not perfection, right? So every day, no matter what's going on, uh, we should strive to make progress. None of us are perfect, and uh, that may be partially why a few times I relapsed because I didn't hit the mark. I had expectations on things, on life. And then when it didn't go the way that CJ thought it should go, I got disappointed, depressed, and then I wanted something to make me feel better. Um, Again, this is a life going process. Uh, we are recovered, but we'll be recovering for the rest of our lives. So if anybody's out there struggling, um, my high power, if you take one step, it will take the rest. Just put forth the effort and try something different. Another mantra we use in recovery is don't leave before the miracle happens. That baby right there, you know, uh, about what was it, about 14 months ago?
In November of 2019.
Yeah, Whitney has had several miscarriages, right?
And ectopic pregnancies.
We had an atopic then, and it hurt. You know what I'm saying? But I spoke to her. I was like, babe, when the timing is right, it's gonna happen.
We thought I couldn't have kids.
Right.
I went to the doctor and they did this test, and one of my tubes was blocked, and I cried and cried because we both want kids. And so it really is a miracle, baby.
That's a God thing. When you put yourself in position and get aligned, things that are not supposed to happen will happen. You can trust that. So if anybody's out there struggling, reach out. I don't know. Do y'all have a contact for them, or if they hear it or something?
Yes.
Okay.
If they can contact y'all, and then you guys can contact.
Yeah,
them.
I work at Turtle Creek Treatment Center. I have connections at Nexus for women, and that's what it's all about. If anybody needs, even if you want to do IOP, which is outpatient. It's all via Zoom right now. You can do meetings on Zoom. You don't even have to leave the house.
Yeah.
You sit in your drawers and a T-shirt and do a meeting. But yeah, reach out. I'm here.
Do the people have to be in Dallas to be a part of
No.
these programs? Okay.
Oh, you mean
to come to the
for the
program?
treatment?
Yeah.
Well, they're in Dallas, so they would have to come here.
What about the Zooms?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Man, you can do a Zoom meeting in Brazil
Okay.
or England.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need the ID to them, the Zoom IDs to any meetings or whatever, can they reach out to you guys and you just relay it to us? And
Yes,
we can give you that information.
You can reach out to us via email at support@reclaim611.org. Again, that's support@reclaim611.org. So thank you both for sharing your story. Thank you for being so transparent, and we do hope and pray that this helps somebody. If it's nobody but one person, then mission accomplished, definitely. So thank you all for listening, and to follow up with us, you can check out the website at www.reclaim611.org. And until next time, don't forget to step into the fight. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Right.
Polly, you got it down.